Alright, so, I decided to give this movie a chance, because I figured, you know what, it's black-eyed children, and they're not really talked about much in films, so why not make a documentary? And pretty much this guy, um, the aspiring filmmaker embarks on a journey investigating the nightmarish and haunting stories behind black-eyed children phenomenon. Um, okay, so yeah, this is basically a lost footage film, and your typical ending as usual, which even the ending is stupid. Like, it doesn't, I guess the guy couldn't afford to get actual children in this, and like, oh no, it's called Black Eyed Children, and you don't have any black eyed children in this, really. Actors. Like, what? Like, you have mostly him interviewing people, which was kind of, I liked some of their stories, like, although I wish, really, if you wanted to go all out, you should have just made this more of a realistic documentary instead of a lost footage film, which is a lame one. I mean, it's basically, it's basically your typical, oh, this guy is investigating, or he's doing a documentary on a supernatural thing. Oh, and then super strange things start to happen to him. We've seen it before, and I gotta say it's probably been done better in other movies, such as Michael. I think it's Michael the Possession or Michael King or something. That was a way. I didn't get to finish it, but that was a better lost footage film. The stuff I saw of it. This again, like, is written by and it stars the director, or he co-wrote it with somebody, and he directed it, he co-wrote it, and he also stars mainly in it. But yeah, like, these people's stories, I would have liked if we got to see dramatizations of them instead. Even if you couldn't get real people, how about you do, CGI, you know, reenactments or something? But no, we don't get that. We get just people telling their stories. Oh no, I loved the one black guy in this where I loved his line where um he's like telling a story about his friend that disappeared, and then he's like, if you if a black guy kid knocked on my door, f no, I'm not opening that door. Or something like that. I forget how he worded it, but it was like he cussed in the interview, and it was funny. Also, like, I don't know who the guy was. I forget the character's name, and but yeah, like, they do try to. Oh, they like go into different things, like maybe they're wendigos, or maybe they're vampires, maybe they're demons, maybe they're aliens. But like, they're mentioned, but they don't go into like stuff like that. And then the guy throughout, like, it does like a Blair Witch thing where he camps out the first night in the woods, even though people reported stuff going on. He's like, oh, I shouldn't have done this. And then, you know, nothing really happens. He hears a few noises, a few sticks breaking, and that. Um, I will say, the acting, like the people telling their stories, are kind of just there. Again, the black guy, like, his story was more interesting because he, like, and then he tells the guy about a bunker, um, underneath the water that was uh, removed from the area. or synced in or whatever. So he goes down there. Uh, yeah, Justin, the guy, the main guy. He goes down there, I guess, alone. Which, for what? And with no weapon. And he knows, like, he's seeing somebody in a black hood who's not a child. It's a grown or maybe a teenager, but tall enough to be like a teen or older person. And they're wearing a black hood and they're just standing around. And then they chase him or they run away from him, and he goes to pursue them in the dark in the forest. What? And then maybe it's government conspiracy, or maybe they're uh and then they do try to put some science into it, like maybe the people's. I forget how the girl worded it, but she was like explaining, like maybe it's a health thing that these children have or something. And then the movie does like a typical. Oh, he gets a. It was weird, like the way this movie is edited, because like there's scenes that like interviews, like he shows chunks of interview, half of the interview, and he'll go to another interview. Then he'll go back to the interview that he just showed of more of that interview. It was very weird. I don't like how it was edited, and it wasn't even in it. It wasn't even interesting the way like the movie was going. So it was like I'm pointing that out because I wasn't interested. I wasn't impressed. I was bored. Nothing scary. I mean, the thought of random knock at the door, like I or these kids, they want to get in your house, you don't let them in, and they're like, then they look at you, then they have black eyed, pure pitch black eyes. Yeah, that's scary, but they don't do that I mean, I think they might have showed like one kid, but that was like in a found footage tape that the guy is mailed, which is weird as well. Which the guy, he's not really creeped out, even though it has a note that says, "Save yourself from this" or something, and he watches it, and it's basically a snuff film of people getting murdered by, you know, black-eyed children or black-eyed people, because it's mainly older people, like with the black eye, eye contacts in, and they kill this group of friends, which was lame. And really, it was kind of generic because it was like lame. A guy I guess his throat was slashed, the black guy, and then don't know what happened to the other friend. But then it's weird because then the black guy got killed in that tape. Apparently, he's the one that mailed the main guy, Justin guy, the footage. And then at the end, it's weird because then he decides to go there because he's like, oh, he's going to explain to me like why they made the tape or whatever. And then he goes to the house. The door's half open. He rings the doorbell as if just walk on in, dude. And then he walks in, and then nobody's in there at first. And then he looks in the kitchen or whatever. There's the black guy sitting in the dark, and he's bleeding still. And then he's like in a trance. I swear, like only one eye is pitch black a bit, but then you can still see it's a contact, which was funny. And then he, attacks the guy, the Justin guy. He runs, falls downstairs, and he's like, "Oh, guy, help me!" And and then the black guy jumps on him, and then it cuts the black, and then it's like black-eyed children, let me in, and I'm like, screw this movie. So yeah, it was lame. Again, the acting from the people telling their stories is whatever. Uh, Failed attempt at, really not even failed. It was just pitiful. Like, or not even pitiful. It was just boring. Like, again, you could add it, I don't know, slideshows or something of pictures of black-eyed children. I mean, they sort of do that, but then, like, at the beginning of one story, but then that's it. But again, you should have just made this an actual something. But nope. But yeah, it was just terrible. It's not one of those movies that was like made me mad or anything, but it was just kind of boring. That, but yeah, this was just lame. Overall, I hope you enjoyed it. Different topics, but yeah, thanks for watching. Take care.